Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hey bro, Happy New Year. It's been a few weeks since I've seen you. How are you?
Yeah, man, it's been a long time. Been a busy holiday season, but good Christmas, good New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and um, happy to get 2024 started off with a bang. We'll go into this right. We kind of ended it a little bit on a whimper, but you just got to kind of stay positive and there is the main positive thing I think is, there's a lot of football to play. So, we got a lot of time. So, and I feel like the break is coming like a perfect time right now. So, um, we'll get into it, but I still feel pretty good about everything.
Yeah, bro, it's been a difficult last couple of games for us. The last time I saw you was just before the Brighton game when we done a
Mhm.
show in and we're looking ahead. We knew it was going to be a really important time. Games come really fast in that period. We know there's a lot of games in a short space of time, and it's been the 4 games since I last spoke to you, and it was a win against Brighton, a good draw away to Liverpool, but then unfortunately 2 defeats, one at home to West Ham and then away to Fulham. So, what's your thoughts on how our Christmas period's been overall?
Yeah, you know, I think we go back to the beginning of the month and we were kind of, obviously very nervous about the upcoming month, and it was not necessarily a make or break. But if you kind of relate it to last season, I think the month was October, where we had like 9 games in the season, and we're just thinking like, or 9 games in the month, and we thought, okay, once we get to the end of the month, we can really start kind of seeing how things are going to shape out. And I kind of feel like that has been what December has been for us. If we kind of even go back to before that, we had a good win against Wolves, a massive, exciting win away at Luton. And you think, you build up a couple of games of momentum like that, and then it was really disappointing defeat against Villa. Thought we played well enough to win that kind of game. And then we had the draw against PSV in the Champions League. That was kind of a wash. We had already secured the top spot. So, that really, I almost forgot that game as I'm looking at the summary of December. Yeah, then right before we talked, it was right before that Brighton game. And man, we looked so good. I was so excited. And we almost, I think leading up to that game, we were thinking like, hey man, we're learning how to control games. We're learning how to sort of choke the life out of our opponents and kind of be that Man City style team that just kind of plays with the ball by themselves and doesn't let the attacking team do anything. And I think that Brighton game, what really stood out was, they had gone like 35 straight games, whether they won, lost, or draw, where they scored a goal. And it was an incredible streak. And we hit them with the clean sheet, right? 2-0. They scared us a little bit kind of toward the end, but overall, we pretty much, dominated the game, 2-0 win. And then I thought, okay, like maybe we can build on that. And then Liverpool, man, we had a real big opportunity with that one. Now, on one hand, you could say like leaving Anfield 2 matches in a row, 2 seasons in a row, actually, with the draw, can't be upset at that, man, especially with our recent history against that team. But I thought as a team, we were better, I think, than Liverpool. And I think Liverpool were able to draw with us. And Liverpool are able to be top of the table right now because I think of individual brilliance in Mo Salah, man. I mean, that guy was pretty much the only threat. Now, granted, we probably could have lost that game with that one viral moment that, Declan Rice taking on 5 guys and Trent Alexander-Arnold misses and hits the bar. Um, but we didn't lose the game. So we drew, walked away with the point. And then it's actually kind of hard to go back into these past 2 games to really recap how I thought we went to, because West Ham was so frustrating, and I agree with Mikel Arteta what he said after that game, where he thought we played well and the score didn't necessarily indicate the performance of the effort. And I was like, you know what? As weird as that sounds, losing 2-0, I kind of agree. I thought we dominated possession. We had so many shots on target. We just could not. I don't know what our problem was, man. And it kind of, just they scored early. Again, another VAR decision goes against us. And we were just never able to equalize. And in a game like that, once you hit that second goal, it was kind of like what we did to Brighton, but in reverse a little bit. Like, they just were more adventurous and took more advantage of their shots. The Fulham match, man, after that first goal, terrible, terrible, terrible performance. I think, and that one as well, I agree with Mikel Arteta, who said that was probably our worst performance of the season. Um, really bad. I think it's really bad. Um, and I'm hoping that we're having sort of a quote unquote come to Jesus moment ever since that loss, or those two losses in a row. Um, 4 losses out of the past 5 matches. Out of 15 points, we've only gotten 4. So, we don't play another Premier League game until the 20th, I believe, 23rd, something like that. So good break in terms of Premier League play, but we do have an FA Cup matchup, annoyingly, against a really good team in Liverpool. Um, so, so we're gonna have to regroup. But I think in terms of league play, um, I'm actually still feeling good about our chances. We're only 2 points off, as we've seen so far in this season. Like, it's not necessarily how would you say it? Like, nobody's really running away with it right now. But we really shot ourselves in the foot for the first time in a long time. Um, but I still feel confident, man. And as you mentioned, the January transfer window just opened up. Who knows what's going to happen? But we'll see. And I still feel confident.
Yeah, bro, there's still a long way to go, and we're gonna have blips through the season. We had that blip towards the end of last season that really cost us. Maybe this time we're flipping the script. We're getting that blip out of the way a lot earlier, and we're gonna have that really strong run through the rest of the season, and especially at the end of the season when it's that crunch time, that crucial time. We just don't know. There's so long to go. And, if you look at the table, we are only 5 points of Liverpool. But when you compare it to where we were this time last season, the amount of points we had compared to now, and the amount of defeats we've had as well now as well, and on the back of 2 losses in a row, I wanted to ask you, what do you think it's down to? I wouldn't say struggles, but compared to last season,
Mm.
just us not being as fluid, attacking wise, not looking as good going forwards, getting the goals that we were getting last season and picking up the points crucially. What would you put it down to? There's a lot of talk we're seeing, a lot of things. Some people are saying it's Champions League's got us tired. Some people are saying it's teams have sussed us out in terms of tactics. They know how we play.
Mm.
They know how to set up against us better now. And some people are saying it's down to our squad depth, the options that we have, like coming off the bench as well, not really having much of an impact. There's a lot of different things. Some people are putting down to Arteta's tactics as well. Like I say, teams have figured this out. They're saying that, Arteta's got to change up the tactics as well. What would you, in your opinion, put it down to?
Oh man. So I think it would be I mean, obviously there's not like one right or wrong answer, and there's not like one thing. I think it's like a combination of a lot of things. And I think the biggest thing, um, I mean, if you think about last year, how charmed we were in terms of like injury luck, especially the first maybe half to first like 3 quarters of the season, and where we really started to hit that, where we hit the wall basically. We really started getting a lot of injuries uh, toward the end of the season, and I think that really hurt us. And if you look at the way our season is folded out now, sure, we've been playing really strong, like strong enough to, be top of the table for a couple of the weeks. But, we've had a lot of injuries here and there, nothing major outside of Yuri and Timber. Um, but a lot of like, injuries that knock out Martinelli, for example. Zinchenko, who's also, hurt right now. Tomiyasu missed some time. Thomas Partey has missed a whole lot of time. Um, Martin Odegaard had to miss some time. Bukayo Saka, I believe, right, missed the game for the first time in like 80 straight appearances. Gabby Jesus missed the start of the season. So, and everybody I've named has also been back in the starting lineup. But I think that's one factor. And then that's also affected, I think, our fluidity and the way we've been playing. Players are out, so they haven't been able to get the same how do you say it? Like the what?
Chemistry.
Yeah, the same chemistry that, again, because last year we had the same lineup every week, and it's felt like we've had a lot of different ones here and there. Um, and I said for a while, hey, maybe it's a blessing in disguise because it's forcing Arteta to use more players and rotate a little bit more. But I think the downside of this is what we're seeing right now is, we're losing games that we should be winning. Like, I don't know, the way somebody put that West Ham game and even the Fulham game, like Arteta game plan for us to be winning 5-0. And if you look at the shots we had and everything we had, if we were clinical, those games would have been much easier. But we weren't. And in the Premier League, if you're not clinical, we've seen what could happen, right? We can lose 2-0 and 2-1 to teams that we're clearly better than. So, I think there's a little bit of that lack of chemistry. Because I feel like, I mean, we're getting a ton of shots. We're not clinical. So I think that's the main thing. And then obviously, like, ultimately, I think we're still okay. The reason because there's not been one team that has really stood out. There's 3 or 4 teams that are kind of like in the pack, in the chase, but everybody's dropped a good amount of points. So, I'm not. It's not doomsday just yet, um, but we are going to have to overcome and persevere because, losing 2 games in a row is not something we did a whole lot of until last season, and so I think maybe people are still a little bit scared. So yeah, I don't think teams have figured us out yet. I mean, and you know what? Okay, then I'll go back and just say this. I think I mentioned 2 factors, right? Lack of chemistry, some injuries, and I think we're trying to play a different kind of football. Um, and I mentioned this a couple times in the past couple games. We've almost mastered the skill of controlling the game. Like, we're good at that, man. And I keep saying this so many times, man. Let me tell you, one of my favorite things watching this team is when we lose the ball or when we take the ball away from our opponent, the ease in which, like let's say, like one of our guys, our defenders, let's say Saliba takes the ball away, within like 4 or 5 little string of passes, we've turned the possession around and we're now going, we're now in control. And we do that so well, and it's so beautiful to watch, man. But then you compare that to like when we're in the box and you're just screaming, shoot, 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 or what was that? Or like, oh, you could have done one more pass. And then there's times where, hey, man, we did way too many passes. So yeah, I just think we've gotten so clinical and so good at controlling the ball that, we're losing games by not being clinical enough, and then teams just not maybe getting lucky a little bit, like beating us on individual mistakes, man. I think there's a stat out there that says that we're probably up there in terms of giving up goals, like off of errors versus just straight up open play. Like, it's annoying, man. So yeah, I think those are the main 3 things, just to summarize. Injuries, I think a lack, which has led to a lack of chemistry. And then I think the shift of our focus in terms of football has kind of hurt us in the final third a little bit. And so it's up to us, I think. I think what's going to be key in going forward is to become clinical, because it's like that meme of the car, right? And like the back end of the car is beautiful, and then the front of the car is like messed up, like it's ugly. So we've gotten like to the point where our defense is great, and then like we're not helping our defense out by scoring a lot of goals and being great at attacking. We're suffering there. So yeah, I think that's got to be our focus as a team. And I'm pretty sure like Arteta and them know that.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good point that you make about the injuries. That does play a part. I know the argument for other teams will be that they got injuries too. Man City will say that they had De Bruyne out for such a long period of time. They've had Haaland out recently as well. Rodri's been suspended in games as well. They missed him a lot. And Liverpool, again, they'll say they've had some injuries. So we know injuries do play a part. But then you look at the squad depth as well. If we have maybe a few more options, then that would lessen the suffering we have with these injuries. In terms of the other teams as well, I think now a lot of teams are much more prepared. And you've seen Saka mention it as well, how that teams are doubling down on him and Martinelli, which is making it really hard. They're really isolating him. It just means with teams having that system prepared to play a certain way against us, we've got to find the answers. And as you said, against West Ham, it wasn't for a lack of creating chances. We still were able to create the chances, just we weren't able to put them away. But then there's been other times this season where we've struggled to create chances. So it's just getting that combination, so the chemistry, that balance. It just seemed to flow a lot better last season. But I think, like I said, some of that is down to other teams being better prepared to us, and some of that's down to the injuries, as you're saying. And looking now ahead to the transfer window, I'm not sure if we're going to do any business. From hearing Arteta's comments, he's not going to give much away. We know that, but he's saying no. But hopefully, we do get something done. So I wanted to ask you now, for you, where do you think we need to strengthen the team as a priority in this window? And do you think we will get anything done?
I think I mean it's weird. It's like we need I think to strengthen in all phases, right? I think we need a defender, a midfielder, and obviously a striker. Um, I think the caliber of striker that we want and need um, is not going to happen in the January window. You hear names like Victor Osimhen, Ivan Toney, Santiago. I think his first name is Santiago Jimenez from over in Feyenoord, who's a Mexican, by the way. And I kind of hope, I'm getting sidetracked a little bit, but I like him and I would love for him to come to Arsenal. But all these players, like a striker, you're not going to see a striker get sold, or and Vlahovic over Juventus. All these guys, I don't think it's going to happen where these big ticket guys are going to be sold by their clubs in January, especially when a lot of these strikers are playing for teams that are battling for their league and in Champions League or in Europe. So I think as much as striker seems to be the buzzword and the priority, and I do believe we need a striker, I don't think that's going to happen at all. So because it's just not like I don't think we're going to get Ivan Toney, because he hasn't played football, and then we're going to spend a whole lot of money on a guy that we have to get back into football shape, and then yeah, it's just a lot, right? So I think our priority needs to be like a left back. I think Zinchenko, as much as I love him and much as I love what he does, I feel like we're kind of outgrowing him as a team in terms of what he can do, and then also like what he can't do, right? Like our vulnerability defensively over the past few games, and maybe you can probably say overall in the season, has been at left back, and he's been the guy. So I'm not like singling him out, but I do think we need some help and some competition there, just so that we could maybe switch up the tactics on the left end a little bit, because I would have really loved if we had Tomiyasu available for the Liverpool game, because you know, he missed last year's game, and Zinchenko kind of gave up the goal that kind of hurt us. And then this year, same thing. He gave up the goal that hurt us. Whereas when we had Tomiyasu, we basically played a man down, because all Tomiyasu did was just pocket Mo Salah. So they played with a man down too. So it's just like you just told Tomiyasu one job, bro. Just pocket Salah, and then everybody else will take care of it. We weren't able to do that and we can't do that against teams because with like really dangerous attackers, just because we don't have a guy, maybe Saliba, but you want him up the middle, and like you don't want him to leave his spot in the middle to go take on anybody else who might, take him out. So I think left back, and I do think we need a midfielder of the attacking variety, kind of like a little bit more adventurous than say like Odegaard, for example. I think Declan Rice is an incredible like Thomas Partey replacement, although it'd be kind of cool to watch them both play together. But I think we saw a few times he's struggled a little bit because we're asking him to do a little bit more like progressive play and pushing it and try to create chances like Thomas Partey could do. Like Thomas Partey is a little bit more of like he could do everything, man. And I think that, going back to your previous question, I think he's a big reason why we're struggling, is he's not in the team. But I think we need some kind of midfielder along with Odegaard who's able to kind of play those passes forward, man, and kind of I think that's what we need, just kind of bolster that midfield because I don't think Kai Havertz is a little bit more of like the center forward a little bit, and Trossard doesn't really do that well. So I think our midfielder, we need like some true midfielders. You know what I mean? And I think, you know what? I didn't mention him, but I feel like Kai Havertz, um, maybe we should start. I'm hoping we might end up maybe experimenting with him playing center forward because he's a big body man, and maybe that could help us. So on one hand, like it's going to be disappointing if we don't bring anybody in. It'd be nice to bring at least one player. Um, but I also think, we're already forgetting about Reece Nelson. Emil Smith Rowe is starting to build up his fitness, and we're seeing him more in the matches. But yeah, going back to, I guess, the ultimate answer to your question, I don't think we'll get a striker. I don't think we're going to get two players. If we can get one player and I had to choose, I would want us to get a defender. Um, just because I feel like you can never have too many defenders. And ultimately, what hurt us last year was we got decimated on the back line. So I think anytime we could just add somebody, whether it's by a loan or something, we'll figure it out moving forward. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the transfer window, man. But again, anything could happen. And for me, January has never been one where I like put all my hopes on, bro. Usually a lot of times it's just like, hey man, we need to like plug in a couple holes. Last year with the Mudryk thing, that would have been really cool, but it just it didn't happen. And that would have been the exception, right? Not the rule. Like you're not seeing a whole lot of like crazy things happening typically in January. So I think that's what's going to happen for us anyway. We'll see.
Yeah, it tends to be a difficult transfer window to get business done. And I think as you say, if anyone does come in, it will be a bonus. But we've got our squad. Just got to hope we get all the players that are injured back. We're hearing Partey's got another injury. That's a big blow. I don't know how serious it is, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. But he's been a key player for us. Timber, our new signing, who got injured in the first game, he's due back soon. Tommy Yasu's just come out for injury. I know he's going to the Asia Cup, but he'll be back after that as well. And as you're saying, the likes of Emil Smith Rowe getting fit again now, getting him back up to full fitness. And hopefully, if we can just have this little break we got coming up now to reset, refocus, kind of, reset the batteries and then come back strong in the Premier League and just go on a run of winning games. We're still right up there. And there's no way you can be looking at it now and saying that it's done. As much as it's difficult against a team like Man City, who we all expect to go on a really strong run of winning a lot of games, getting 90 plus points as they normally do, we still got to keep optimistic. We can go on a run and be right up there competing until the end of the season. We've still got the Champions League to play in. Looking forward to that. Knockout stages coming up. That's going to be exciting. And we've got the FA Cup. And that starts this weekend for us. So let's discuss that now. We have drawn Liverpool. All the draws you could get in this earlier stage, we go get a difficult Premier League team. Apart from Man City, that is the most difficult game we could have got. The good thing is at home, so that's a good advantage for us. they're flying at the moment. We've seen them firsthand in our game against them. They were really good. We were good. That was two really high level teams playing. We cancelled each other out in that game and finished 1-1. And I saw their game the other day against Newcastle, and they looked really good in that game. They attacking wise, they were just all over them. I saw the expected goals was something like 7,
Yeah,
6,
7, yeah.
yeah, something like the most that's been recorded this season, and they looked really lethal going forwards. Still shaky at the back, and I believe Mo Salah is now not available for this game. He's gone to the African Cup of Nations. So he won't be even, as you were mentioning, he is their star player and he's a big difference maker for them. Saw it in the game against us, as you mentioned, but also that game against Newcastle. Like he missed the penalty, but he still got 2 goals and 2 assists. If I remember right, made the massive
Yeah,
difference.
yeah,
So, him not being there is a big plus for us, and we're not sure how strong a team both managers are going to put out. We've seen Arteta rotate a lot in the FA Cup in previous seasons. Klopp as well does rotate a lot, so we're not sure. We do have this break coming up afterwards, our winter break, couple of weeks off. So you would have thought we would have be putting a full strength team out, but yeah, what do you reckon? Should we put a full strength team out? What's your thoughts on that, and what's your thoughts on the game overall?
I think we should put a full everybody, man. We gotta fire off and get the win that we felt we deserved, and continue in the FA Cup. I think it'll really. I'm not saying it's make or break, but I think it's gonna really. I would love to see us put out a full strength team, good enough to win, get the win, and go into that 2 week break with a much better, I guess, mood, vibe going into that 2 week break versus if we lose, that's 3 straight losses. It's going to be a whole lot of like moaning and complaining online with nothing else to do, right? Like it's the worst when there's no football because there's breaks because then you're just complaining. But if you win, kind of have that better vibe going. So I'm hoping we go all out to try and win. And then at the same time, once we can secure that, if we can secure that, you know, let's get as many players off the pitch, rotate a little bit more. But yeah, I think Mo Salah missing the game is going to be great for us. Because ultimately, I think he's kind of there. I think they did look great against Newcastle, but to be fair, Newcastle has looked like shit for the past like month and a half. And I really wish that we played them when they started hitting that. And somebody loves to point out, man, ever since they screwed us over, or VAR screwed us over against Newcastle, Newcastle have been kind of hitting the dip, man. Granted, they got a ton of injuries and stuff like that, but they deserve it. So, side note, fuck Newcastle. I'm so glad that they're looking like shit. But but yeah, man. I mean, Liverpool is looking great as well, man. You can't take that away from them. They are top of the league. They only have 1 loss, and it sucks that we have to play them in the FA Cup. But yeah, I think we got to go all out to try and win again to set the agenda for the second half of the season, and just say like, nah, we gotta do this. We gotta compete in Champions League, FA Cup. Like, let's go for this treble. I mean, a lot of people are already slagging off the league and saying, oh well, Champions League is our only shot. Like we could still go do a treble, man. And I think as long as we're in all competitions, we should be going for it. And um, I think Arteta's proven at least this season so far with our performances in Champions League that we're taking it serious. And let's take the FA Cup serious as well. So I think it's a great opportunity. I think to kind of set the tone for the rest of the season, especially going into a break.
Yeah, for sure. Best way to bounce back is with a win.
Yeah.
It's a team like Liverpool as well. It'll do our confidence a lot now, and their confidence a little bit as well. We'll be like, remember we playing them just what? I think it's right at the start of February, isn't it? So we're playing in the league. What about a month? Let's say a month's time they'll be coming here in the Premier League. So if we can beat them on Sunday, again that will help in that game, which is coming up in a month's time. So yeah, massive. Normally you would say the FA Cup, it's not one of the priorities, but I think, as you're saying, we want to go all out to win every competition as much as we can. hopefully we can get a trophy this season. It's been a little while since we won a trophy now as well, so I hope Arteta does take the FA Cup really seriously and goes with a full strength team. Be interesting to see. So, what's your correct score prediction for that one, bro?
It's gonna be we're reeling right now, man. I'll admit it too, right? Like I think our ego is hurt a little bit, struggling. Um, but I still think, we've got that in us to like turn it on a little bit. So I feel like it's gonna be a really tight match. I'm really kind of hoping. I'm also, we haven't talked about him a lot, but I think David Raya is kind of going through a rough patch, man. So I kind of want to see Ramsdale come into the team and inject a little bit of life, a little bit of chaos, and give us that feeling again. So, but I think it's going to end up being something like 3-2 in our favor. So it's going to be a nerve-wracking game. I didn't watch any of the matches today. I know there was a couple. I'll be watching tomorrow and Saturday. So we'll see what happens. I love watching like the smaller teams, right? Like the League One and Championship teams play against each other. It's kind of hoping we got one of them. But yeah, man, I'll say 3-2, just because I think it's going to be a grudge match. We played Liverpool not that long ago. We know what they're going to do. They know what we're going to do. And I think both teams are going to just let it fly, man.
Yeah,
3-2.
yeah, I'm going for a high scoring game as well. I think both teams got all out attack and gonna go 4-2 for me. 4-2
I
win.
would love that though.
Yeah, hopefully we get them goals. So get that confidence back, have this little break, come back, reset, go hard again in the league, go on a nice long winning run. Then Champions League, before you know it, it'll be February. Champions League will be coming around again as well. So exciting times, a lot to look forward to, bro. As always, thank you for your time today. I look forward to discussing hopefully a great win against Liverpool on our next show. Got to get back into winning ways, go on a good long run. We've done it before, we can do it again. Come on, Arsenal.
Come on, Arsenal. Yeah, it's going to be tough. But at the same time, I think as fans, just as it is going to be for the players, it's going to be nice to get a couple weeks break. I will get bored after a week, but like sometimes good to step away and have no football for a little bit, catch our breath, relax, and be like, look, man, like this is going on until May, right? So like we gotta like pace ourselves and just know, like, hey, man, a lot of football to be played. So a lot of gloom and doom right now, and I think it's just overboard. Like we just gotta let it happen, man. It'll happen. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to talking to you again, man, and looking forward to Sunday, man. It's gonna be a good match.
Yeah,
Love the FA Cup. Love the FA Cup.
yeah, for sure, bro. Looking forward to it. So look forward to catching up with you next week as well. And thanks for your time again. So that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.